Welcome to today's lesson. The lesson is about warehousing. In this lesson, we shall discuss in detail the importance of warehousing, essentials of warehousing, and types of warehouses. The producers and distributors of goods need to store goods until when they are required by the consumers. In Form 1, you learned about wholesalers relieving the producers the burden of storage. Thus, warehousing is an important aid to trade, and it bridges the gap between the producers and consumers. Let us look at the key terms. The first one being a warehouse. What is a warehouse? A warehouse is a building or a room where goods, whether finished or raw materials, are stored, awaiting sale or manufacturing. Now, in East Africa, warehouses are also known as godowns, silos, or depots. Let us look at the key definition of the second term, which is warehousing. We shall say warehousing is the process of receiving, recording, storing, and dispatching goods in the warehouse. Remember, during good seasons, farmers produce more than they demand. Thereby, the excess production is kept in the warehouse to cater for the off-season periods. Thus, warehousing creates the utility of time by bridging the gap between production and consumption. Remember, warehousing is a commercial service or an aid to trade. Having understood the introduction part of it, I now want us to discuss the second subtopic, which is importance of warehousing. Warehouses play a very important role in business. Proper storage means that logistics of protection of goods are followed. There are various ways in which warehousing facilitates efficient operation of business. These various ways are as follows. Number 1, enables steady flow of goods. Warehousing assists in ensuring continuous flow of goods in the market. Producers can produce and store goods as they wait for the demand. Point number 2 is that it promotes specialization. Warehousing enables the producers to produce as the distributors offer the services of warehousing. Point number 3, it helps to stabilize prices. Goods stored in warehouses are released when the need arises, which prevents shortage of goods in the market, making the prices to remain stable. The next point is better quality goods. Warehousing helps goods to improve or maintain quality. This is mainly for those goods that ripen with time, like bananas and tobacco. The next point is earns income for the government. Payment of import duties for imported goods is easily facilitated. The warehouse also pays license fees, which is a source of income for the government. Another point is preparation of goods for sale. Goods are prepared for sale by blending, branding, grading, sorting, and packing. And breaking of bulk enables consumers to purchase in convenient quantities. The next point is that it enables mass production. Goods are stored in the warehouse as traders look for markets. Excess production is kept in the warehouse and manufacturers continue producing. Another point or another important of warehousing is it provides protection for goods. Goods are protected from damage as they are kept in good physical conditions and protected from bad weather conditions, pests, and pollution. Another point is that warehousing ensures controls by the government. Goods can be inspected by the government, which reduces trading of illegal goods. Another point, which is the last one, storage of seasonal goods. Seasonal demand is taken care of by storing goods until their demand arises. Having gone through the importance of warehousing, of which we have discussed 10 points, I now want us to go to the second subtopic, which is essentials of a warehouse. Talking about essentials is we are talking about characteristics or the basic features a warehouse is supposed to portray. These are like attributes. How is it supposed to look like? How is it supposed to look like so that it can do the work it's supposed to do in the best way possible? Now, these are the essentials of a warehouse. In order to function efficiently and effectively, a warehouse should have basic characteristics or features. Some of these features are discussed here. The feature number 1, suitable location. The location should be convenient and accessible to the users. An efficient transport network is a necessity. This will enable goods to be moved in and out of the warehouse with a lot of ease. Point number 2 is that proper recording system. There should be a proper recording system in a warehouse to ensure that all movements of goods are well monitored. Point number 3 is appropriate equipment and machines. It is essential to have adequate equipment such as forklifts, cranes, working materials, and other handling tools for easy operations. Point number 4 is adequate room. A warehouse should be spacious enough to allow easy movement of goods and personnel. Goods should be removed and brought in easily. Point number 5, adequate storage facilities. Sufficient storage facilities for handling different types of goods are required. For instance, a warehouse should have refrigerating equipment if it deals with perishable goods like fruits. The next point is proper building design. A warehouse should have a proper building structure appropriate for the various types of goods to be warehoused. The next point is good communication network. A warehouse should have a good communication system to facilitate proper communication between the warehouse and its clients. A client should be able to inquire about his or her goods easily and without any delay. Another point is that ensure security and protection. Security should be enhanced for the goods warehoused and the personnel working in the warehouse. The next point, which is point number 9, is appropriate staff. Qualified and efficient personnel are required to facilitate smooth flow of operations. The last point, according to our discussion today on the essentials of our warehouse, is about compliance with the law. A warehouse should follow the laid down legal requirements for storage facilities. It should operate within the laws. Now, that has been the essentials of a warehouse. Remember, I said we shall discuss importance of warehousing, essentials of warehouses, and lastly we shall discuss types of warehouses in detail. Now, having understood the first part and the second part of our topic, let us now look at the types of warehouses. That is our subtopic. Types of warehouses. Warehouses may be broadly divided into 3 types depending on their ownership and the way they are operated. These types include private warehouses, public warehouses, bonded warehouses, and free warehouses. We shall now discuss each type separately. Now let us start with private warehouses. Private warehouses are warehouses that are individually owned by various traders. They include producers or manufacturers warehouse, wholesalers warehouses, and retailers warehouses. Let us look at the producers warehouses as a type of private warehouse. Now, producers warehouses these warehouses are owned and operated by the producers or manufacturers. Raw materials awaiting manufacturing or finished goods awaiting sale and other equipment used by the manufacturers are kept in these warehouses. Most of these warehouses are located at the manufacturers or producers' premises. Having discussed something to do with producers' warehouse, let us look at the wholesalers' warehouse. Remember, we are still discussing components of private warehouse. Now, let us look at wholesalers' warehouse. These warehouses are owned and operated by the wholesalers. Wholesalers warehouse. These warehouses are owned and operated by the wholesalers. Wholesalers use them to store goods until demand arises. They are also used to prepare. Wholesalers buy goods in bulk from manufacturers and break the bulk in these warehouses. Blending, sorting, packing, and grading activities are done in these warehouses. We shall look at the retailers' warehouse, whereby these are warehouses owned and operated by large-scale retailers. These retailers are able to buy goods in bulk from the manufacturers and wholesalers. They use these warehouses to restock their shops. Examples of large-scale retailers with the warehouse include supermarkets, hypermarkets, and departmental stores. Having discussed the subtopics or the components of private warehouse, we shall now discuss the advantages of private warehouses. Let us look at the advantages of private warehouses. The first point being, warehouses protect goods against damage from bad weather, pests, and breakages. That is the first point on the advantages of private warehouses. Point number 2 is that the private owners of warehouses have full control of their warehouses. They can store goods anytime and remove them anytime. So if they feel like they want to store these particular goods today, they'll store it today. And if they feel like they still want to take it away from that warehouse, they still have that power to do it according to their demand. Whatever they want, it will happen with a lot of ease. The third point is about the owners are able to save money that will otherwise be used to hire public ones. For instance, if they had to hire, they could have spent some money. But now that they own their own facility, what will be? They will spend a lot of money. They will spend that money that you could have been used to hire a different warehouse from somebody else. Maybe talk of from the public warehouse. That's another advantage. Another point is that owners can design their warehouses depending on their specifications and needs. They'll design their warehouse according to their specification and needs. Maybe they want to be storing perishable goods like fruits. They'll design according to their wish, not as according to the other organization. Maybe they are likely to go and hire storage facilities. The fifth point is that it enables special handling, storage, and protection of goods. It enables storage handling. It enables special handling, storage, and protection of goods. The sixth point is that the owner is not tied by the procedure of receiving and issuing goods as is experienced in public warehouses. The last point, according to our discussion, is that the owner is assured of security and safety of his or her goods. Having discussed the advantages, remember you have limitations and the dislimitation. Now let us look at the disadvantages of private warehouses. The first disadvantage is that the owners incur huge costs in putting up the warehouses. Remember, it's a building. We said a warehouse is a building or a room. That room must be built up. So the owner incur huge costs in putting up the warehouse. The second point is that owners may face problems like theft of goods by the personnel employed to work in the warehouses. Pilferage. Those people whom you have entrusted that they will work for you, at some point they might take away your goods without your knowledge. That is, so you may face sort of like a challenge. Another point is that retailers and wholesalers may not be in a position to construct big warehouses due to the high capacity capital involved. Remember, a warehouse, it's something that is looked upon to be something huge, and these people are businessmen, they are retailers or they are wholesalers. They may not be in a position to put up a warehouse as big as it should be. So that is a challenge or a disadvantage. On the other hand, another point is that some private warehouses are underutilized, especially if the owners cannot afford to buy in bulk or during unfavorable seasons. Maybe you you are wholesaler, yes, but your capability to buy a lot of goods is not, you are not able to buy a lot of goods, so you realize that this warehouse that you put up may be underutilized. Then at the end of the day, that will mean you are getting a loss to some extent. Another point is that the owner meets all the costs such as electricity, security, labor, and repairs. Remember, this is your warehouse, and in our warehouse we expect to have light, we expect to have labor, we expect to have security, we expect to some point you will repair something in that building. These costs, all of these costs are just on you, so you will incur a lot of expenses. The last point, according to our today's discussion, is that the owner may not be able to employ qualified employees due to inadequate capital. You might look for somebody who is not qualified to do the work of storage or the work of warehousing. So at the end of the day, you might find out that at some point, maybe your goods that you stored may not be as quality as it is supposed to be, because it's expensive to hire a qualified personnel. Now, that has been under private warehouses. The second subtopic, small subtopic, I want us to discuss something to do with public warehouses. Now, public warehouses are owned by individuals or organizations that hire them out to members of the public who want to store goods in the warehouses for a given period of time, maybe 3 months, 1 week, 2 days, or even a year. Anyone can rent a space in these warehouses. Public warehouses are mostly located at terminals like the railway station, airports, and seaports. Business people can prepare goods for sale in the public warehouses. The design of these warehouses depend on the kind of goods to be warehoused. Some of them have refrigeration facilities that cater for perishable goods such as fruits, flowers, tobacco, etc. We shall look at the advantages of public warehouse. Remember, we look at the advantages of private warehouse. Now, let us look at the advantages of public warehouses. The first one is they relieve traders of the burden of having to construct their own warehouses. They relieve traders of the burden of having to construct their own warehouses. If you have a private warehouse, you don't need to put up your own warehouse. What you only need is to rent a space in that public warehouse whereby you will store your goods for a certain period of time, maybe 1 week, 2 days, 1 month, 2 months, so and so, or a year, even a year, as you plan on other things. Point number 2, they generate income for the owners. And somebody or whoever put up that business will get something out of that. You are going to store your goods there and you are going to pay for it. As you pay for it, that one, you will have generated an income to the owners. The next point is that many people are employed in warehouses. That is, it creates job opportunities. A warehouse will to some extent need many people who will be handling these goods, maybe moving these goods from one place to another, or packaging, or branding, or doing all sorts of things. As far as a warehouse is concerned, these people will be employed, and hence it will create job opportunity that will see many have a better living. Another point is that they are closely monitored by the government, and they tend to operate within the law. Public warehouses operate within the law because they are licensed and they pay license fee. So to some extent, the government is always looking at how they are operating. Remember, we talked about the essentials of a warehouse. Now they make sure that they are operating within the law. They are law compliant. That is the last point, according to our today's discussion, is goods kept in public warehouses are insured against fire and theft, so that in the event of damage, the owner does not incur any costs or losses. If you store your goods in a public warehouse, you'll be assured that those goods have been insured against fire and theft. So in case such a thing happens, the owner of the warehouse will not incur the cost, and you, the personnel who stored your goods there, you won't go at a loss, for you shall be compensated by the insurance company. Having gone through the advantages, I'd like us to go through the disadvantages of public warehouse. Disadvantages of public warehouses. The first disadvantage is that charges levied by public warehouses are sometimes high and prohibitive. You may realize that you want to store a little bit of goods and the payment is somehow high. It might be even more expensive than the goods you are storing. So sometimes they are high and prohibitive. Another point is that the procedures followed in storing and removing goods are sometimes complicated and very long. There is certain procedure you are supposed to follow. These procedures sometimes are very long. Maybe these are private. This is a public warehouse that is serving many people, so you'll have to follow a certain procedure before you are given your goods, or before you store your goods in such like a facility, as compared to a private warehouse where it's just yours. The next point is that sometimes warehouses can be located far away from the person hiring them, which may compromise the quality of goods during transportation. Like, I do understand that the warehouses are not found in each and every part of our country. Maybe you could wish to store your goods. You will be forced to transport these goods from one place to another. Now, during transportation, maybe at some point you might find that you can these goods might break down, and therefore at the end of the day you realize that the quality of your goods has been compromised. That is. Another point is that the hirer does not have any control of the goods warehoused. The hirer cannot remove his or her goods whenever he or she wants. If you hire a public warehouse, you can't just come from nowhere and say, I want to take away my goods. You must follow those procedures. They must now give it back to you. Remember, you hired the services. So at the end of the day, it's not that I will come at any time and tell them that I need this and this and this, I want to go away, I want to know. You must follow the procedures before you get back your goods. The last point, according to the disadvantage of public warehouses, is that extra charges are levied on customers who are unable to collect their goods on time. Like, for instance, you said you will collect your goods after 1 month. Then it comes to a point that you have delayed for another 1 week or 3 days. You'll be supposed to give an extra charge for you fail to turn up on time. So you will realize that you might end up spending a lot of money in such like facilities. We shall now go to our last subtopic. The last subtopic is about bonded warehouses. We shall discuss it in details. And these bonded warehouses, they are special type of public warehouses owned by individuals or organizations that are used to store dutiable goods. They are mostly used to store imported goods whose custom duty has not been paid. Most of these bonded warehouses are located at terminals to ensure that no goods enter the country without payment of the custom duty. Goods stored in bonded warehouses can only be removed on production of a warehouse warrant. However, owners can sell their goods while still in bonded warehouses. Most clients prefer to look for market while goods are still in the bonded warehouses. Despite that, we also have some advantages and disadvantages of bonded warehouse, and we'll start by looking at the advantages of bonded warehouses to importers, specifically to importers. The importers can sell their goods while still in the warehouses. If goods are sold while in a bonded warehouse, the payment of duty is passed on to the new owner. That means whoever brought in the goods will not pay for the custom duty. So that is an advantage to an importer. The second advantage is that it gives the importer time to look for money to pay the custom duty required. Maybe an importer imported these goods, but they didn't have a lot of money maybe to pay for the custom duty. Now, this kind of warehousing will enable him to look for money so that at the end of the day he or she may pay for the custom duty to acquire his goods in the right manner. The third point is that goods can be re-exported while in the warehouse without paying any extra duty. That is, you imported goods maybe from abroad. They have been in such like a warehouse. They can still be re-exported at no cost. The importer will not have to pay anything. It will just go that way. So to some extent, it will be an advantage to the importer. Maybe goods imported were not of the quality according to the owner, so he may decide or she may decide that these goods be re-exported to the original country. The fourth point is that special preparations such as packing can take place while goods are still in the warehouse. You can do packing, you can do branding, you can do sorting while these goods are still in such like a warehouse. So in that case, you shall be preparing it for sale. Another point is that importers can look for market while goods are under bond. Your goods are stored in a bonded warehouse. you can go out and look for market of which you are quite sure that your products are safeguarded. So it's an advantage, it's a way of buying time as you look for the market. Another point is that goods are protected from unfavorable weather conditions and pests. The last point on the advantages of bonded warehouse is that importers may take out goods in bits by making partial payments of the custom duty required. Like for instance, you are required to pay 10,000 for you to take out your goods. This one gives you a chance to pay maybe talk of 1,000, then take away a portion of those goods. After which you go look for another man, you come, you pay a little bit, you take out the portion, another portion. Hence, thereby, you will be making profit from it. You will be distributing according to your wish. So that is an advantage on its own also. Now, let us look at the advantage of bonded warehouse to the government. Advantages of bonded warehouses to the government. The first point is that enables the government to regulate quantities of goods entering the country, which can reduce demand for local products. So the government will regulate the quantity of goods entering the government. Maybe talk of they have imported sugar, and the government is of the opinion that if we allow this, the whole of amount of this sugar to come into our country, maybe our local producers will be affected. So the government might decide to put a stop on them as they wait for other ways on how to grab the situation. The second point is that the government is able to collect information on the goods imported to the country. It gives that time for the government to collect some vital information concerning the goods, and thereby you realize that the people will consume goods that are well inspected by the government. The next point is that revenue is raised from custom duty levied, which is used by the government to improve citizens' welfare. All goods in a bonded warehouse, they must be paid for. That is what we call custom duty. That custom duty will at the end of the day be distributed to other sectors, talk of health sector, education, and these things will at the end of the day change the living standards of the people of such like a country where goods were brought in. The next point is that inspection of goods while still in the bonded warehouse makes work easier for the government. That is the first point where goods have landed. So it will make the work easier for the government to inspect these goods for there, and at the end of the day, things will run smoothly. Another point is that enables the government to control qualities. For instance, the quality that was brought in that had been imported is not according to the standards of the country. The government might decide that they re-export it. So it enables us to control qualities of the products that are brought in to the country. The last point on the advantages of bonded warehouses to the government is that the government can control the entry of harmful goods into the country using bonded warehouse. The government can control the entry of harmful goods into the country using bonded warehouse. Let us now look at the disadvantages of bonded warehouses. Before paying custom duty, the importer cannot remove the goods from the bonded warehouse. That means once your goods have been placed under bonded warehouse, you cannot remove your goods until when you have paid for the custom duty. That is a disadvantage number one. Number two is that some importers are unable to pay custom duty after keeping goods in bonded warehouse, which results in loss of goods as they are auctioned by the government. Like, you may store your goods in a bonded warehouse, then at some point you fail to pay the custom duty, maybe which is a little amount. This one will in the end lead to you losing your goods, for the government shall auction them after a period of time. So that is a disadvantage to an importer. Another point is that the owners of goods in bonded warehouses must meet strict procedures and regulations set by the owners of the warehouses. There are certain strict procedures and restrictions. Maybe the issues to do with the time. They might have put your goods there and they say you must come for them before the end of this month, or you must produce this and this and this. So at the end of the day, you must adhere to such like strict regulations and tight procedures for you to acquire your goods. The last point is that the charges of goods stored in bonded warehouses are based on the number of days. The more the days, the higher the charges. Like, if your goods have stayed there for a longer period, you might end up paying more, for they charge according to the days. Maybe one day, maybe one day is 20 bob, the other day it will be 40 bob. So it will go that way to an extent that time maybe you get money to come for your goods, you might end up failing to get it because it has accumulated with the time. So the charges of goods stored in bonded warehouses are based on the number of days. The more the days, the higher the charges. Now let us look at the free warehouse. A free warehouse. This is where tax-free goods are stored while waiting to be collected or sold by their owners. The goods stored here are either produced locally and do not require to be taxed, or are those that are imported and whose taxes have already been paid. Private and public warehouses are examples of free warehouses. Now, let us look at the advantages of free warehouses. The warehouses are located at convenient places for the users. The second point is, the next point is that free warehouses are cheaper than bonded warehouses since no taxes are paid. Goods cannot be auctioned for failure to pay custom duties in a free warehouses. That's another point. The fourth point is that clearance of release of goods is easy since there is no release warrant to show payment of the tax. The next point, the next advantage is that goods can be prepared for sale while still in the warehouse. That is breaking bulk. Another point, the owner of the goods can look for the market while goods are still the warehouse. That means as your goods are still warehoused, you can still look for the market of which after that you sell your goods that have been stored. Having discussed that, I want us now to discuss something to do with the disadvantages of free warehouses. And the first disadvantage is that corrupt traders can store goods in free warehouses to avoid paying taxes. That's the first point. Corrupt traders can store goods in free warehouses to avoid paying taxes. Another point is that inspection of goods is relaxed. This can lead to storage of illegal goods, for nobody will be concerned to inspect satellite goods stored in a free warehouse. The last point is that the government does not earn income since no tax is paid in free warehouses. That has been our lesson for today, the lesson of warehousing, whereby we have discussed different subtopics running from importance of a warehouse, essentials of warehouse, and types of warehouses. Now, we have practice questions or practice exercise that I will direct that you visit your business book, that is trend or form 2, to do the practice exercise just after this topic, and hence you shall see yourself moving in a manner that you will come out successful in this particular subject. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening, and I welcome you more and more to listen for more lessons from this side. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Leave it up.